सबसे पहले let's try to understand the group data with equal class widths. What is the class width of the first data in this one? 4. Second, 4. Again, the class widths are same or equal. If the class widths are equal and I ask you to draw a histogram on this, you can make a histogram which will be data on the x-axis and your frequency on the y-axis. So I can say a frequency histogram can be constructed for the data which has equal class intervals. So yes, but the question is not saying so, but I want you to draw a histogram for this because this is a very easy example of histogram. इसमें आप क्या करेंगे? Frequency, the axis for frequency is not labeled, so kindly label that. Frequencies can never be in decimal. ये नहीं कह सकते कि this data is occurring 2.8 times. Frequency will be in integers, so we do not need any value in between of those values. Okay, 0 से लेके 4 तक. What is the frequency from 0 till 4? 4. तो make bars ही कहते हैं इसको भी, but this is a histogram. 0 से लेके 4 तक, what the frequency is 4. Make histograms. I want you people to make histogram for this. And then from 4 till 8, the frequency is and then the frequency is 7 from 8 till 12. And then again the frequency is 4. And then from 16 to 20, the frequency is 2. Let me correct the previous one. This is my 3 पे बना दिया पिछली बार. Just rectify that. So this is the kind of histogram that you're getting, right? सही है? This is called a histogram. There is a proper scale on the x-axis. There is a continuity of the data on the x-axis. And obviously I haven't labeled it, but you need to label your y-axis if it is not labeled. Just keep the khayal rakho in questions when they do not label the y-axis, you must do it yourself. Okay? Okay, so once you have this, this is called a frequency histogram. And why do we need a frequency histogram, or when can we only have a frequency histogram? When the class widths are equal. Even if a single class width is not consistent with the rest, you do not draw frequency histogram. ये बात clear है नहीं है? Okay, now come to this question. What is this question asking us? This particular question. Frequency polygon. What is frequency polygon? I'm taking it from a very basic frequency histogram. It is a polygon. It is a straight line figure that we need to make. अगर हम histograms बनाएं basically और histograms की midpoints को join करें, so the polygon that we will get is called, let's make it green ताकि visible हो. This is called frequency polygon, in which in short, अभी तो मैंने histogram बनाया हुआ है, but you do not need a histogram for that. Histogram की सारी जो mid values हैं और data की mid values को आप उनकी frequency से connect करते हैं, so that is called a frequency polygon. I repeat, जो data की mid value है उसको उसकी frequency को जब आप plot करते हैं, that is called a frequency polygon. Because you have already drawn a histogram, तो आप बहुत आसानी से उसके mid values लेके you can just join them up, and this is called your frequency polygon. It tells you how your frequency varies. Join the data, join the points with straight lines. And एक चीज और देखो, स्टार्टिंग में कनेक्टेड विद द स्टार्ट ऑफ योर डेटा, जहां से आपका डेटा स्टार्ट हो रहा है वहां से कनेक्ट करो. सिमिलरली एंड में भी वेयर योर डेटा इज एंडिंग, उसको यू कनेक्टेड टू द एंड, सो यू गेट एन एनक्लोज्ड शेप. पॉलीगॉन इज एन एनक्लोज्ड शेप, राइट? आपके पास so this green line figure that you see is called a frequency polygon. You do not need to construct a histogram before drawing a polygon, but एक ही question से I've tried to address both the things. The two things are when equal class intervals are concerned and when we have to draw a frequency polygon. Make sure that you label your y-axis when it is not labeled. Frequency cannot take decimal values. तो आपको बस 1 2 3 4 करके you can label every single box. Is this clear? So the two things that we have studied is equal class intervals में frequency histogram and frequency polygon. अगर frequency polygon without the histogram plot करना होता, I'll repeat. What do I plot? I take the mid value of my data and plot it against frequency, and then I join all those points with straight lines. 2,4, I'll plot this point. 6,8 and 10,7, 14,4 and 18,2. टेक्निकली यही सारे पॉइंट्स आपने प्लॉट किए, गौर से देखो. And then you've joined them और starting और end वाले को आपने 0 से connect कर दिया. Is this clear? So this is a frequency polygon. ये दोनों बातें clear है नहीं है बेटा? Anything that is troubling you people? Okay. इसके next parts भी देख लेते हैं. Write down the model class. Yes, class. So model class is what? Most occurring class, the most occurring group of data. Which class is the model class? 4 to 8. This is the model class. The data is most frequent in this class. Okay, now the next part is asking us how many people took more than 8 minutes. 8 minutes से ज़्यादा कितने लोगों ने puzzle complete करने में लगा? You can see it from the data as well. That's what I always say. If you understand this tabulation and this data, you can answer the remaining parts very easily. How many people are taking more than 8 minutes? These 7, these 4, and these 2. So all of these people are taking more than 8 minutes. How many are them? 7 plus 4 plus 2 is? दोबारा करो. 7 plus 4 plus 2. 13. So 13 people took more than 8 minutes to solve the puzzle. A last statement, explain why he may not be correct. Imran says the longest time to complete the puzzle was 20 minutes. Explain why he may not be correct. I've told you people that in group data, we do not know individual values. Yes, the final group is concerned with time between 16 to 20 minutes, but it is very much probable and possible कि वो सारे लोगों में से किसी ने 20 minutes लगा ही ना हो सकता है कि everyone took 17 minutes, हो सकता है one of them took 17, the other one took 18, someone took 19. Is that right? दो frequency, तीन frequency इसकी दो, so there are just two people, right? हो सकता है both of them took 17 minutes, हो सकता है one of them took 17, the other one took 18.2 minutes. So they're just lying in that particular group. Is that clear? It doesn't mean that one of them has taken 20 minutes. So he might be wrong to people lying in the group between 16 to 20. We do not know their individual times. तो हो सकता है कि Imran's claim is wrong. Is this clear or not? So their time lies between 16 and 20, and we do not know their exact time. We just know that they belong to that particular group. Is this clear? So I always stress on understanding the data before proceeding to any further working. Is this clear? This is page 125 from the booklet. And now first have a look at the data. Forget about the question, but just understand the data. If someone presents you with this data, Okay, what is the first class width? So what is the data in this question? Amount of money spent on a website. Say, how many people are spending? So people spending between $0 to $30. There are P number of such people. Between $30 to $40, and then 40 to 50, 24, 50 to 60, 19, and 62, 90, there are 24 such people. Is that right? What is the class width for the first group? 30. The class width for the second one? 10. Is the class widths consistent? Are the class widths consistent? Are they equal? Even if one of them is not equal, I've told you people, we cannot plot a frequency histogram. Instead, we plot frequency density histogram. Why do we do that? I'll explain it to you, don't worry. But first, let's understand what frequency density is. So frequency density is frequency upon class width. Do not just focus on memorizing this formula, understand why we are doing so. And inshallah, when you'll progress with further statistics ever in your life, you will get the better understanding of all this. So frequency density is frequency divided by class width. So what do we plot for? And when we have unequal class intervals, we make a frequency density histogram. Is this clear? The question is provided us with a part of that histogram. And the first part is asking us to find the value of P. Yes. Can you find the value of P? How do I do that? P is the frequency. I do not know that, but do I know the frequency density for this data? Have a look at the histogram. You have the histogram in front of you. Page 125. Look at the histogram. Do you have the frequency density? Can you read it for me? What is the frequency density? 0.5 is the frequency density. What is the frequency P? And what is the class interval? Sorry, class width is 30. So your value of P is 50. 100. What if, पहले इसको बहुत आसानी से समझ लेना. What if I plot a frequency data for this entire thing? अगर मैं इस पूरे डेटा को frequency पे ही plot कर दूं, instead of finding frequency density. What is a histogram? It is a representation of data. You're trying to represent the data by bars. हम बनाते, we draw bars, but there is a continuity to the bars. There is an x-axis. So if I would have drawn a frequency histogram for this one, so what is it showing you? कहाँ पे data, where is it lying the most? What is the visual representation of the data? कहाँ पे data सबसे ज़्यादा lie कर रहा है? Between 60 and 90, and it looks 10 or 30 के बीच में भी बहुत सारा data lie कर रहा है. Well, because it has huge bars. Is that right? But यहाँ पे we have done an injustice over here. What is that injustice? एक group हमने बनाया which has a class width 30, एक group बनाया which is a class width 10. So is it justified कि बस दोनों की frequencies हम plot कर दें? But this is a wrong representation of data. It is a flawed representation of data. When you don't have equal class intervals, you should not make a frequency histogram. Is this clear or not? On the other hand, if I would have made a frequency density histogram, much better. Now the bars are actually representing, technically the area of the bars represents frequency, and they are actually representing the data के किस region में कितना data lie कर रहा है. If the class width is broad, even that is represented, and the height is frequency density. Is this clear or not? So can you complete the graph that we have to do right now, this histogram? So the first thing that I want you to do is find frequency density for every data. How do you do that? You take the frequency and you divide it by class width. If we were to find frequency, अगर हमें frequency निकालनी हो तो how do we find frequency? We'll just take the frequency density and multiply it by class width. जरा गौर से देखना इस ग्राफ में what is on the vertical axis and what is on the horizontal axis? Class widths. इसमें अगर किसी भी पार्ट की आपको frequency निकालनी हो, so you simply find the area of that particular part. For example, अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं 70 से लेके 90 तक what is the frequency? So you'll take the width. इसकी width कितनी हो जाएगी 70 से 90? 20. और height कितनी हो जाएगी which is frequency density. तो 20 into 0.8 करोगे तो 70 से 90 वाले की frequency आपको मिल जाएगी. We'll do the next question with that, but just letting you know, giving you a heads up. If you want to find frequency from a frequency density histogram, you find area of that particular region or area of that bar, area under the bar. Is this clear or not? समझ आ गई बात? Okay, so again, one of such questions, just when the class intervals are not equal, 4 to 6. And remember, what is the data in this question? This data is telling us that how long did a person spend at work on 70 different days. So these are the number of days he spent between 4 to 6 hours on 4 days, 6 to 7 hours on 6 days, and so on. And now if the question asks us to make the histogram for this one, we cannot make a histogram with a frequency. We'll make a histogram of frequency density. So this is the kind of histogram that you should end up with. On the vertical axis, it's not frequency, it's frequency density. And on the x-axis, you just have the data that you have plotted. अच्छा इसमें एक जो छोटी सी confusion थी कि how will you plot 7.5? 7.5 is very easy on this one. 7 और 8 के बिल्कुल बीच से. But what about 8.75? Yes, graph की limitation है. We do not have a line for 8.75. But we can make a line just between 8.7 and 8.8 और वहां से हम line बना देंगे. Is this clear or not? So this is a histogram that we have made for the given data. Okay, now this part as well, again, this is a very interesting part. I already gave you people the hint on how to attempt this one. Okay, Yasir starts work each day at 9 a.m. He is paid overtime if he works later than 5:15 p.m. Estimate the number of days he is paid overtime. So we need to find the number of days for which he is paid overtime for. Can you tell me the duration after which he is paid overtime? Sir, he has to work for this many hours or उसके बाद उसको overtime 8 hours तो नहीं, it's not an exact hours, 8 hours and so 15 minutes को hours में convert करो because you have the data for hours. You can say 8 hours and 15 minutes, 8.25 hours. So he gets overtime when he works for more than 8.25 hours. Now the group or the classification that we have, क्या हम यहाँ से बड़ी आसानी से निकाल सकते हैं more than 8.25? Do we have a group which starts from 8.25? No, we don't. So that is why I told you even in the previous part, when we need such frequencies, we go to our histogram. How can we find frequency from the histogram? Yes, frequency density histogram से frequency कैसे निकाल सकते हैं? Area. So we need area 8.1 to 8.25 onwards हमें area चाहिए. Is that right? I have drawn a green line over here. 8.25 onwards हमें we need this particular area. So how many people, sorry, how many days has he spent between 8.25 and 8.75? What is the width? Can you tell me the width for this one? Very good. The width of this one is 0.5. Is that right? Yes, I just read 0.5, 8.75 and 8.25. The width is, and the height is, height is height is 24. Frequency density 24, I think. So you have found this particular area, which is telling you the frequency of this group, 8.25 to 8.75. How many days did he work for? You're telling me that the height is 24 and the width is 0.5. So how many days did he spend between 8.25 and 8.75? 24 into 0.5. So 12 days. 12 days were those when he worked for more than 8.25 hours and less than 8.75 hours. क्या इसको सिर्फ इन्हीं days का overtime मिलेगा? This as well. Again, should I find the area for this, or do I already know the frequency for this group? We already know the frequency for this group. And what is the frequency for this group? 10. So there were 10 such days when he worked for 8.75 to 10 hours. इसका तो पता, area भी निकालते तो 10 ही आता. Is this clear or not? We already know when would he get the overtime for? When he works for more than 8.25. More than, but we do not have an exact division on 8.25. We can say 8.25 से 8.75 hours तक. How many days he works for, we can find through this group. And how can you find it through this group? By finding the area on the graph. Again, area क्या होता है? This is class width into frequency density. वो frequency तो आती है. We are just finding it through graph. So this is telling us there were 12 such days when he worked for more than 8.25 hours and less than 8.75 hours. But will he be paid for overtime just for those days? The rest of the days which were more than 8.25. ये भी तो वही दिन है when he's working more than 8.25 hours. How many days are these? Whether you find it through area on the graph, or if you already use the table, you already know there were 10 such days when he worked for more than 8.75 hours and less than 10 hours. So how many days would he be paid for the overtime for? Is this clear or not? So when we need to find such frequencies which are not clearly categorized by our group data, how do we do it? We find the area of the graph, area of the bar of that particular region. So उस particular region की frequency we can easily figure out. Is this clear? Let's move to bar graphs. उससे पहले let's have a look at this. First, let's go through view of the data. Okay, what is this question asking us? Please be very clear about the data. What is the data in this question?
How many children women?
Very good. How many children women have is our data. We asked 25 women, how many children do you have? And the data that we are gathering is the number of children. So what possible value is my data attaining? मेरा data क्या possible values अगर करा रहा है? I've told you how to visualize group data. I'll दोबारा बताता हूँ. The possible values that my data is having is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. A small hint on how to visualize this. You ask the women to put the number of children that they have on a big piece of cardboard paper and hold it up. And you ask all those 25 women to stand in a straight line. Data आपका range भी हो गया automatically. How many women are holding up the value 0? 7. Remember, data is not women. Women are not the data. The data is the number of children. तो अब data मेरे सामने है. It's right in front of my eyes. If you visualize this, that all 25 women are holding up a certain number, that number is my data. So how do I find mean? How often is the value 0 occurring? So I should 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 और 0 ये ना उसको 7 से ही मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे तो क्या होगा? 0 ही रहेगा. So I'm not going for 0. How often is the value 1 occurring? So instead of adding 1 again and again, I'll just multiply 1 by 5. How often is the value 2 occurring? 6 times. Remember, the value is the number of children. How often is the value 3 occurring? And how often is the value 4 occurring? And how many total readings do I have? मैंने 0 into 7 नहीं किया. Please do not get confused about that. Sir, आपने 0 into 7 क्यों नहीं किया? It will be 0. The total is 25. Paper 2, you can use your calculator and tell me the mean that you get. $1.64. 0 into 7 भी कर सकते हैं, कोई मसला नहीं है भाई. Do not get confused. इससे कोई वैल्यू पे फर्क नहीं आता. What is your mean? 1.64. So on average, you will say women tend to have 1.64 children. Every woman tend to have 1.64 children. Is that right? Now median की position कैसे निकालूंगा? Already arranged. I've told you, when I have this group data, I just told you, sub already arranged. How many readings do I have? So median position is 25 plus 1 upon 2. So how do I find the median position? What is the median position? 13. I'm constantly telling you. Visualize as if all the women are holding up the cardboard which reads the data. All 25 are standing. Which position am I searching for now? 13. First 7 positions have the value 0 on it. Is that right? The 8th, 7 plus 5 karo, 12. So from 8th position till the 12th position, the women have the value 1. Is that right? On the 13th position, what is the value of my data? 2. So my median is 2. Is this clear or not? Now it will help you understand and visualize ungrouped data को मैं इसी तरह बताता हूँ. Median is 2 because on 13th position my data has the value 2. Now mode, which value is most occurring value? 0. Brilliant. Mode is 0 because it is the data, it is the value which is most occurring. Is this clear? Now we need to draw a bar chart for this one. Acha, for bar chart, be very clear about it. It is just like a histogram, but what is the difference? There is no particular scale on the x-axis. X-axis पे कोई scale नहीं होता. Y-axis पे label the frequencies and every bar is labeled differently. One thing that will help you understand, bar chart sometimes in bar chart, every bar is labeled differently. Sometimes even qualitative data is represented through a bar chart. For example, I were to find how many people like the color black, how many people like the color white, how many people like the color brown. So I'll draw different bars. Every bar will tell me how many people liked a certain color. But the bars would be representing colors. The bars would be named as colors. If I were to write down your individual marks, I'll write down your names and write down your marks on bars. So I'll name every bar with your name. Is that right? The bars can be labeled by numbers, or the bars can also be labeled by name. Is that right? There is no particular scale on the x-axis, unlike histograms. So how many bars do we need to make? 5 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And every bar has to be, what is the frequency of the first bar? 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Label the y-axis, I have constantly told you. And x-axis ko now you will not need to label the x-axis, you'll just need to label your bar. This one has a value 0. Yeah. And the second one, what is the frequency? 5. Because there is no particular scale, but you try to make sure that the width of the bar remains the same. इसकी क्या हो गई हमारे पास 1. Okay, and what about the third one? And how will I label it? 2. What about the fourth one? 4. And how do you label that? 3. And the last one? 3. And how do you label that? Oh, so every bar is labeled differently, even though it might look like sir इसमें भी तो कोई scale है. No, there is no scale. Even if there is an order to the data, there is no scale. Every bar is labeled differently, whether you give it numbers or whether you give it any qualitative value. Is this clear till this point? So that is how we draw a bar graph and the basic difference between a bar graph and a histogram. Is this clear? So today we did frequency polygon, bar graphs, and histogram. And there is another bar chart on page 22. I would want you people to do that. So first you have this data. Again, I just told you it is a qualitative data. And then you need to make a bar chart for this one. So first count the data and how many apples do you get? 10 apples? Sure. We had apples, apple, banana. This class. So what is the frequency for apple? Again, do not just haphazardly count. Either count by rows or by columns. Do not haphazardly count anything. When you're counting such data, count by rows or by columns. So how many apples do you have? 10. Bananas? 8. Orange? Let's count. Do you have the data for all 30 people? Yes, bete. Now you need to plot a bar chart for this one. So this, you see this, now you'll just be labeling your bars as fruits. बीच में label मत करना. I'll try to label it in the middle, but you do not attempt to do that. Okay. है पहले वाली की frequency was 10, and these were apples, right? The first one is apples, then the second one, bananas. And what is the frequency for bananas? 8. You just write their names at the bottom. यहाँ पे लिख दो apples, bananas, and what is the third one? Orange. And what is the frequency for orange? 12. So now do you understand the difference between bar graphs and histograms? Even in the previous one, doesn't matter if you were writing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but there was no scale to it. For example, if you did not have any value with 2, तो आप 0, 1, 3, 4, 5 direct कर लेते. Is this clear? Just label every bar differently, whether that label is the number or that label is any qualitative value. Is this clear? समझ आ गई बात? Anything that is not clear till this point? Done? That's for today then. क्वेश्चन है आज बेटे कोई चीज जो नहीं समझ आई हो?
नहीं सर.